On Authentic Ag, an in-depth conversation with Dr. Alan Featherstone. He heads up the Ag Economics Department at Kansas State University. We'll also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission and Kansas Department of Agriculture and updates from the Kansas Livestock Association, Paragon Ag Advisors. I'm Ken Rahjes. This is Authentic Ag. Brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net. Brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands, kla.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com. Joining us now, Dr. Alan Featherstone, head of the Department of Ag Economics at K-State, one of the presenters at the Risk Profit Conference. And you talked about a couple of different subjects, and probably the one that's on most people's minds is looking at overall farm finances. We know that, I guess to say there's a challenge, that would be almost an understatement.
Certainly there has been challenges, and certainly we've been working through those. Actually, this last year, 2018, was actually an improvement. Part of that was just due to the market facilitation program. On Kansas, the average was $37,000 per farm, and that essentially increased the income to right about $100,000. We ended up taking a look at Kansas farms over the last 5 years, those that we had data for, just to see how the adjustments were made. In some respects, 2015 was the trough of the situation, and it's improved some since then. The first thing we saw this last year that has been a change in the trend is working capital. Previously, the liquidity and the ability to make payments in the last year had been stretched, but that changed and improved slightly. To give an indication, working capital moved from an average of $222,000 per farm to $233,000 per farm. Still not a great improvement, but at least it did stop the downward cycle that it had been on.
So we can say challenges with a small c.
That's probably true, although in some respects, if we look at 2019, and again, this is based on the crop conditions as they are now, we're actually expected to see some continued improvement. Looking at gross revenue from the cropping, the four major crops, corn, soybeans, sorghum, and wheat, we're expected to see about an 8% increase in revenue overall from last year, and so that's a positive sign. And then the market facilitation payment, essentially that's expected to increase by about $25,000 per farm. And so I think we could see perhaps if the year continues on as and we don't have any major production surprises, I think we could see incomes up of about another $25,000 to $30,000 from where they were last year. And so in some respects, this will give some operations a chance to heal a little bit. I think there will be some discussion with regards to tax planning and whether or not there'll be additional investment or whether or not there will be a year to pay some taxes and use that money to maybe pay down some debt or restructure some of the operations. And so, again, it won't be a great year, but in some respects, given where we were, I think 2019 does show a little bit of promise from an income perspective.
Dollars are dollars, regardless of where they come. So really, the MFP could prop up folks at least for another year.
Certainly, I imagine it doesn't feel good from a producer perspective, but there is the dollars, and I think the big question going forward certainly will be what will be the continuation of those programs in terms of this last year. If you take out the MFP, we're at about a 63,000. This next year, we're probably about the same place without that MFP, and so that's just the very big wild card right now going forward. But certainly, it does present a little bit of an opportunity to have that cash flow to be able to allocate and maybe at least make some progress on some of the issues that certain farms have been dealing with for a number of years.
Dr. Alan Featherstone, Department Head of the Department of Ag Economics, K-State, joining us. Stay with us. More coming up. Brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail. Keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And our guest this week, Dr. Alan Featherstone, the Department Head, Department of Ag Economics at K-State. We've talked about farm income and with some of the situations. And Dr. Featherstone, we talk about the market facilitation payments. Those are because of trade issues. At the Risk Profit Conference, you talked an awful lot about that. And other than, I guess, what farmers talk about the weather, the other top topic has been what's going on with trade. When are we going to have some of these markets opened up?
Yeah, and certainly trade is an important issue. And in some respects, I think sometimes we lump all of our trade, whether or not it be corn, whether or not it be wheat, whether or not it be soybeans, together. The important thing I think it's important to understand is just the difference between the trade aspects for soybeans, the trade aspects for corn, the trade aspects for wheat. For example, soybeans, there's 3 countries that produce 85% of the soybeans in the world. Essentially, you look at the U.S., you look at Brazil, you look at Argentina, those 3 countries together produce 80%, 85% of the soybean production. If you look at the exports, the top 5 exporting countries export 95% of the soybeans. And so it's a very concentrated market. At the same time, and really what's got people's attention is China. China is importing roughly 62% of the world's soybeans. And in some respects, it's kind of an interesting situation where there's a very few suppliers, and essentially China dominates the demand side. You look at other countries, the second most importer imports 3.3% of the world's supply, and so it goes from 62 to 3%. Conversely, you look at corn, and corn, again, the U.S. Is a major producer, 33% of the world's supply, exports roughly 50% of the world's supply, and being less concentrated. You get to wheat, and that's a very open market and very competitive. For example, the world's largest exporter is Russia, and we can remember back in the 1970s, 1980s, where we were pleased to have this export agreement with Russia where they would take a lot of our wheat, and now they've turned into the number 1 wheat exporter in the world as opposed to importing. And so the markets are very different. In some respects, I think the geopolitical situation for China is basically between 3 suppliers and 1 demander. And probably where the most issues will have to be thought through is China cannot get all their soybeans from Brazil and Argentina, and they have been importing about 95% of their imports from those three countries. And so it certainly is going to be interesting to watch with regards to how those negotiations go. But there could be rearrangement, but it's more of a competitive type thing in terms of who has the economic power with regards to the soybean market.
But all those situations, while China is a lot of focus, the USMCA, NAFTA 2.0, whatever you want to call it, we have to make sure that we still have those great relationships with Canada and Mexico, correct? As the basis?
Absolutely. In terms of, if you look at the corn market, the number 2 importer in the world of corn is Mexico. The number 1 importer of corn is Japan. And so if you let USMCA and go back to difficult trade relationships with Japan and Mexico, that's certainly going to be problematic. You look at wheat, again, Mexico's a fairly big wheat importer. Indonesia's a fairly big wheat importer. And so certainly the relationships with Japan are going to be pretty important for both wheat and corn. And you look at the relationships with Mexico, and they're pretty important for the wheat exporter and the corn exporter from the U.S. And so all three of those agreements, China, USMCA, and the agreements with Japan, are very important. Probably one of the things that's on the rise is Vietnam, and this is one of the reasons why TPP, there's some concern with regards to the fact that has we're not participating in that as a country, and that Vietnam, I believe, is now the 4th leading importer of corn in the world, with essentially taking 4.4% of the world's imports. And so very dynamic, but all of those agreements are certainly important as we look for the future of trade with U.S. commodities.
Great. Dr. Featherstone, always great. Thanks for your insight.
Thank you.
Dr. Alan Featherstone, director of the head of the Ag Economics Department here at K-State, has joined us. Stay with us. More coming up.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn, with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News. A reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
I'm Scott Thellman, and this is Juniper Hill Farms. Even though my parents weren't farmers, they bought this beautiful farm north of Lawrence in 1999. In 2010, I started growing vegetables on this land. Today, Juniper Hill Farms sells produce to wholesalers, grocers, and restaurants, and is focused on growing high-quality food that everyone can afford. Watch my story and the stories of other young Kansas food producers at kansaslivingmagazine.com/meetafarmer.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if your cattle get out, you could be held liable for that? Call me. Let's have a discussion. 316-945-6733.
Farmers should start thinking about the annual Kansas Soybean Yield and Value Contests. Entries must be postmarked no later than December 1. The Kansas State University Extension personnel, or a designee, must witness the harvest. A designee may be anyone not involved with the farm enterprise. Contestants should notify their Extension county offices of when harvest is to begin as early as possible. The harvest witness must inspect the combine's grain hopper and verify it is empty before harvest begins. Thanks to the Kansas Soybean Commission, the highest dry land and irrigated yields in the contest each will receive a $1,000 award. The overall winner could earn an additional $1,000 for surpassing the current record of 104.14 bushels per acre. Further, in each district, first place will win $300, second will earn $200, and third will receive $100. Managed by the Kansas Soybean Association, the contests are free to all Kansas farmers. There is a limit of 1 entry per field. One person may enter multiple categories: conventional or no-till, which now includes strip-till, and dryland or irrigated. Farmers may enter the value contest, which evaluates protein and oil contents, without entering the yield contest, and vice versa. The complete rules are available at kansassoybeans.org/contests on the web and in K-State Extension offices across the state. Winners will receive their plaques, certificates, and monetary awards during the Kansas Soybean Expo, January 8, 2020, in Topeka. What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
We've been sharing food safety tips throughout September for Food Safety Education Month because food safety for all Kansans is part of the mission for the Kansas Department of Agriculture. Often people are surprised that food safety and restaurant inspections fall under the Department of Agriculture, but we know that food and agriculture are closely tied together, and we work to ensure a safe food supply throughout the food chain, from the fields to your plates. Our food safety and lodging program works with restaurants, grocery stores, convenience stores, food wholesalers, food manufacturers, and other food operations across the state, so they all understand and follow the Kansas Food Code and other statutes that serve to keep consumers safe from foodborne illness. Preparing and selling high-quality, safe food begins with well-trained and knowledgeable food service staff, so we work to provide educational materials to food service establishments in a variety of ways. Our Food Safety Task Force uses regional workshops and newsletters to expand knowledge on subjects like the new Food Safety Modernization Act, the Food Inspection Program, food recalls, and other issues. And the task force has also provided input about ways to improve sharing of information in the future. We have created a long list of fact sheet handouts for food service establishments to use for staff training and ongoing education. And we have recently translated these handouts so they're available in Spanish and Chinese in addition to English. Our food safety staff travels the state presenting Focus on Food Safety workshops, where they share key steps to food safety so that we can prevent foodborne illness in Kansas.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source, together we grow.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it and it worked. I'm not going to go out and dig trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities, and it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
Exhibitors have entered 1,906 head of livestock in the Kansas Junior Livestock Show September 27th through 29th in Hutchinson. A total of 772 youth from 97 counties have entered 134 market steers, 333 breeding heifers, 230 market hogs, 271 breeding gilts, 275 market lambs, 288 breeding ewes, 197 market goats, and 107 commercial doe kids. Douglas County leads the state with the most exhibitors and the largest number of total livestock entries. Youth from Douglas County also have entered the most market lambs. The breeding gilts category is led by Dickinson County. Finney County has the most market hog entries and is tied with Butler County for the most market steers entered. The largest number of heifers was entered by Pottawatomie County. Miami County competitors have entered the most market goats. The largest number of breeding ewes was entered by Leavenworth County. Elk County has the most commercial doe kid entries. The show will award cash to exhibitors of the top 5 animals in both market and breeding shows for all 4 species. A showmanship contest also will be held. In addition, the show will present scholarships during the show to exhibitors who have excelled academically in community service and 4-H and FFA. The Mid-America Classic Collegiate Livestock Judging Contest will be held in conjunction with the show as well.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business has started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Hey folks, Colette here with Paragon Ag. This week we're looking at how the recent trade events and weather are keeping the market in check. Grains have been mostly weak on the board as the market validates the USDA report on acres. Fair weather has kept the bears strong and trade sideways. Lack of a trade deal with China, as well as a continued increase on tariffs, have kept the markets from an upswing related to exports. However, increased efforts on trade via the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement continue, and we're keeping a lookout for the government ethanol package. We remain well off the highs early this summer, and that looks to be the trend for the foreseeable future until we can get into the fields and see what Mother Nature has left us with. Many say they could use a few more hot days for growing, and continuous rain has them worried about a wet harvest. The cattle markets are still adjusting to the loss of the Holcomb, Kansas plant. Markets are up from the initial crash on the loss, but seeing reduced cash prices. Hogs are remaining around the nearby contract lows in the last couple of weeks. A signed trade deal with China increasing our exports would be beneficial in these markets especially. Looking ahead, weather is to remain fair and the next round of tariffs come due mid-December. These tariffs, if enforced, would essentially take care of the remainder of Chinese goods affected in the trade war. So we're hoping early September talks help. As you're thinking about harvest, trying to decide if you've done enough or maybe you think you might have done too much on the marketing side of things, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Colette at Paragon, and we'd love to help.
Well, thank you for joining us for Authentic Ag. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, email me, Ken Rahjes at gmail.com. We look forward to seeing you next time on Authentic Ag.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source, together we grow.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it and it worked. I'm not going to go out and take trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities, and it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.